Mike, and yes, last Corey, if I can just add to, I do want to extend my own personal condolences to Minister Paschal Donoghue and that of my party on the passing of his mother, Catch Donoghue, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and his extended family at this difficult time for him. Minister, you're very welcome to take oral questions this morning, and the first question is to ask the Minister the categories of energy that he sought flexibility for in relation to the VAT. In his written correspondence with Commissioner Gentiloni on the 10th of March 2022 and any subsequent correspondence and communication with the European Union Commission, and if he sought specifically a special derogation or flexibility on VAT applied to home heat and oil.
I want to thank the Deputy for raising this, and I want to join with other members in giving condolences to Minister Paschal Donoghue on the sad passing of his mother. So, in relation to the question at hand, at the outset I would like to say that the Minister of Finance and the Government are very conscious of the negative impact of the rapid rise in energy costs which it is having on society. The Government is doing everything within its powers to address the issue. However, it is not possible to completely insulate people from these increases, as factors causing them, such as the war in Ukraine, are outside our control. We believe, however, that the tax reductions introduced strike a balance between passing a significant benefit to consumers while managing the tax base and respecting the constraints of the energy tax and VAT directives at EU level. In relation to Minister Donoghue's engagement with Commissioner Gentiloni, the Deputy should note that in his correspondence, the Minister outlined the various actions that he has taken to mitigate the cost of energy for households and businesses in Budget 2022, as well as the additional €505 million package in February. He also outlined the further March package of measures providing for a reduction in excise duty on petrol of 20 cents, diesel 15 cent and marked gas oil of 2 cents. The Minister acknowledged the importance of the energy tax and VAT directives, in particular the framework they provide for a consistent application of these taxes across all Member States. However, in the context of the significant increases in energy prices, he outlined the limitations of the recent changes to Annex 3 of the VAT Directive, given the reduced rates may only be applied to gas and electricity, and therefore other fuels remain outside the scope of the reduced rates. In this context, the Minister asked the Commission to consider allowing Member States to respond to the crisis with greater flexibility than is permitted under the directives. On the 23rd of April, Commissioner Gentiloni wrote to all Ministers of Finance in relation to energy and energy crisis, responding to the points Minister Donoghue and his European counterparts had raised. The Commissioner highlighted the current flexibility provided by EU directives, including the newly agreed amendment to VAT rates. The Commissioner indicated that the Commission does not envisage any further revisions of the EU taxation framework to respond to the current crisis. Minister Donoghue and his officials will continue to engage with the Commission and with other European counterparts to seek the maximum degree of flexibility for Member States to respond to the current energy crisis.
Thank you, Minister. Sinn Féin, as you know, have been calling for the Government to engage with the Commission to secure a VAT reduction on household energy bills since November of last year. We did that because we understand and are aware of the provisions of the EU VAT Directive and the imperative to retain our existing derogations, and that's why we called for engagement back then. We understood that the process takes time, but I would remind the Minister that these requests were met with opposition, derision from government benches and indeed your backbenchers. And while I welcome the fact that the Government has belatedly adopted our position, I regret that it wasn't until the 10th of March of this year that the Minister formally wrote to the Commissioner in this respect. Now, we've not seen the letter. We don't know the specifics of the request that he made, and given what you've read into the record there in relation to this question, which is about home heat and oil, you haven't mentioned anything in relation to that. So I'm going to ask again, did the Minister, in any of his engagements with the Commission, seek any flexibility with respect to VAT as it applies to home heat and oil?
Our context did mention the issue of VAT and the VAT directives in that correspondence from the Minister. And as the Deputy is aware, following lengthy negotiations, amendment to the VAT Directive were provisionally agreed in December 2021, with final sign-off on the amended text at the ECOFIN in April 2022. This new arrangement came into effect on the 5th of April, so the Deputy can see discussions in relation to this were ongoing well before the end of last year. Under the new arrangement, Annex 3 of the VAT Directive was expanded to include gas and electricity. This means Ireland can apply the reduced 9% rate to these products in line with other goods and services. The Government has made a decision to avail of the flexibility from the 1st of May, which is the start of the next period. In relation to VAT on the heating aisle, this new arrangement on VAT rates also preserved Ireland's historical derogation in relation to fuel and oil, despite it not being included in Annex 3. It is on this basis that Ireland applies a 13.5% reduced VAT rate to supply of fuel and oil for domestic and commercial purposes. The current 13.5% rate applies to energy products known as the park rate, and I think the Deputy is aware of that.
Okay, so we're going to go for it now the third time, Minister, and let's see if we can make any progress in this, because the question is very simple. Did the Minister, at any time in his correspondence with the Commissioner on the 10th of March, seek flexibility or a reduction in relation to VAT as it applies to home heating oil? Home heating oil is the source of energy that has gone through the roof most. It has increased by 127% in the last 12 months. It is more than doubled. A third of households across the state use heating oil as their primary source of heating their homes, two-thirds in western and north-western area. And two-thirds of households in the border use that as their primary source of heat. That's compared to 8% in Dublin, while 69% of Dublin use gas compared to 4% in the border counties. So you have to look at the regional disparities here. So I'm coming back to you again. The Minister wrote on the 10th of March, but we already knew from December that, because it was in draft form, that you would be able to reduce energy or VAT on energy and electricity and gas. The question is home heating oil. In that correspondence, did he ask for flexibility or reduction in home heating oil? And if he didn't, will you now do the job that you should have been doing for the last 6 months?
As the Deputy will be aware, the current VAT rate of 13.5% applied to energy products, and it is a park rate and cannot be reduced below the 12%. And it should be noted that Member States must apply their standard rate of VAT to this product. Our historical derogation covered electricity, gas, fuel and oil, and this meant Ireland applied the rate of the 13.5% on those products in comparison to other European countries which had applied it at a rate of over 20%. And had Ireland adopted a reduced rate on the basis of Article 102, it would have automatically removed gas and electricity from the historical derogation, meaning they would revert to the standard rate at the end of the temporary period. And the VAT directive now provides for the necessary flexibility for gas and electricity. And as the Deputy has highlighted, home heating oil is the oil of choice by heating source for many households in Ireland, including many in your constituency and my constituency. And the Government has introduced a large range of other measures to help people with the cost of living, which also includes those measures.
Thank you.